I'm not very good with plurals being plural, singulars being plurals. No, you would say rhinos, wouldn't you?
Tortoise.
Tortoise. Tortoise. What did you say?
You're not telling me they didn't think, I know what we'll do for a laugh. We'll go and fly along the line of Hadrian's Wall. Of course they did. And who wouldn't? That's what I'd do.
Tortoise.
Toys.
You don't say tortoises then, do you? Or maybe you do.
I think you do say tortoises.
Okay. And I'd buy a box of fruit pastilles.
Why did you say it like that?
Because I'm being silly.
Ordered the colours was I tried to sort of distribute. Yeah, what I tried to do when I ordered the colours is I just tried to distribute. Oh, right, I'm not going to say that word ever again.
Welcome, everybody, to a brand new Bakery Bears video show. Yes, we're back.
We're back.
I tried to surprise Kay.
Have you had a good 2 weeks?
Did I surprise you? Or did you see
did
it
do
coming?
a very big welcome.
All right.
It did sort of make me jump a little bit.
Now, we promised you a big year, didn't we? And my goodness, we started it in style when we saw you last time, when Kay returned with a brand new season of my favourite colourways.
Yes.
Thank you all so much for the lovely comments that you've been sending us. It was a gorgeous colourway.
Oh, beautiful. I've not got
Oh, no,
it.
you can't show it anyway.
I've tucked it away because I'm saving all of the yarns that I'm dyeing all through this year. I'm saving them for something very special.
Exciting.
Yes.
She's already busy cooking up.
I've already figured it out. I'm actually dyeing up another new colourway for next time. I just seem to be in that frame of mind at the moment where I just want to sort of play around with colour.
But not only, you've dyed it up and you've knitted it up.
I have. I've already dyed it up and I've already knitted it up into my wrist ticklers because I was just so excited to see how it knit up. And it's gorgeous.
So fear not, Kay will return next month with her next My Favourite colourway.
Yeah.
Because today, it's a big one. It really is a big one. We start a brand new series.
Yes.
Over 8 walks, we're going to take you to Northumberland. And over those 8 walks, we're going to discover the story of, I think I said last time, and I think you'd probably agree, I think it is the greatest monument, historical monument in the country.
Yeah, I think it is, but I think it probably passes a lot of people by, which I think
definitely does.
Is just such a sad thing, really. We love it, and we've been there many, many, many times.
I think it's because you have to work to get to Hadrian's Wall a little bit.
You do.
And to see the best bits, you've really got to strap on the walking shoes and get on the backpack and stride out.
But it's just so fantastic.
Yes. Today it commences, and I'm very excited about this series, very excited, because this is a place, as we're going to discover, that holds a very special place, not only in my heart, actually, but as you've just alluded to, yours too.
Yeah, I mean, I never really, like I said, like a lot of people, I never even ventured anywhere near Hadrian's Wall before I met Dan. I don't think I ever actually went north of Scotch Corner before I met Dan. That's absolutely true. My favourite bit of the wall, actually, is... Well, I've got a couple of favourite bits, but one of my favourite bits is Walltown Crags.
Yes.
You can park at Walltown Crags, and then it's a little bit of a walk to the wall. Not very far at all. You just have to walk up a little bit through some nice sort of country, and then you get to the wall. And that section of the wall is just amazing.
It's great. It's really great. And that is all to come through this year in Walking the Wall. You're going. Well, I really hope that you're going to love it. And
you will. I've seen it. You will.
Episode 1 is coming in today's show. It's time for a brand new segment. And that segment is called Marshmallow Watch.
Ah.
It's like Spring Watch, except we're not watching spring.
Except better.
We're watching marshmallows.
I think it's Winter Watch at the moment.
For all of you people who are worried, yes, some more have arrived.
I have got. Finally. Only came on a couple of days ago. Yeah, I had to wait.
So she had
weeks.
one box for Christmas. She finished them before. She's not had a box of marshmallows since last year.
No, that's true. So I ordered 3, and I've got one here actually, so I can show you what I've been ranting on about. And these marshmallows are from, look at this box for starters. Hang on, can you see it? It's like gold writing. The Marshmallowist. These ones, as you can see, are toasted coconut. I got 2 boxes of toasted coconut, which is the one I had initially, and then 1 box of just vanilla, just to try the plain vanilla. And I'll open them up so I can show you. I've had 1 of these. I've had a couple out of the vanilla, and Bryony's loves the vanilla as well. She's not so bothered about the coconut.
Yeah, look.
Thankfully.
Yeah, that's all great. But look, just bear in mind, when she had one of those, she said, oh, they taste just like those other ones that
Well, she ate one of the vanilla ones, and her little eyes went like this. That was nice.
Yeah,
but then afterwards, she says it's kind of just like normal ones.
Yeah, so...
It's not. Ignore what Bryony says.
Well, yeah.
Ignore the teenager.
This is an unrefined palate.
Yeah, they're not. They're nothing like.
They aren't. I've tried a bit. I've not had anything like this ever.
So, these are what they look like. Oh.
If you like marshmallow,
oh my goodness,
you'll like these.
And look, everything's pink. Oh, Sarah, isn't this amazing?
Sarah who? They've got no idea who you're talking about, honey.
Dr. Sarah. Sherlock Knits, Sherlock_knits on Instagram. Honestly, if you like coconut, I want to eat one now. And I had one of these last night, and Dan came downstairs. I was making a peppermint, and you came downstairs, and my mouth was like this because I just rammed it in. Oh, because it's just like heaven. They are egg, gluten, dairy, and fat-free. Fat-free? Not obviously not sugar-free.
Now look.
They're basically sugar.
Speaking of gorgeous sweets, who remembers when you used to be at the cinema when the lovely lady would walk down with the ice creams and the sweets, and I'd always go down and I'd buy a box of fruit pastilles. They were my favourite. Roundtree's fruit pastels in the shape of the fruit in a box. Tasted great. Yeah. Similarly there. Do you know what? I didn't really like the fruit gums as much.
No, I never. I mean, I used to.
I like packets of fruit gums.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the box
tubes
ones.
of fruit gums.
Because the box ones were.
My mouth's just watering thinking about proper fruit gums.
Now, these
They're not like they used to be.
These hark back to a day of sort of classic cinema visits, didn't they? With so many, like Indiana Jones and Back to the Future, and when you're pushing the boundaries a bit, it's perhaps just on the outskirts of it, but Jurassic Park and all those big sort of event cinema things were so sort of, you remembered going to see them. Well, if you want to relive some of your cinematic memories, I've got just a ticket for you, because we watched Ghostbusters Afterlife, and this was like perfect. It was like, if you've watched the first 2, it is the third one.
Yeah.
And when you consider it was made so many years after.
Yeah.
We sat down feeling sceptical, and we honestly sat down thinking that they're going to have made some changes. It's going to feel up to date, and perhaps it's not going to be quite like what it was. Well, we couldn't be more wrong.
From literally the first second, because the music...
It's just amazing.
It was fantastic.
Just, honestly...
It was a proper film, wasn't it?
Harking back to those days with the intermission and the lady and the fruit pastels and the ice creams. So, if... I would guess you probably need to have enjoyed the first ones.
Yes. I'd say. Yeah.
If you enjoyed the first ones, or similarly, if you enjoyed 80s sort of popcorn movies, go watch this film, because it's marvellous.
It is fantastic. We all loved it. Bryony loved it.
Look, this is a huge show today. It's vast.
Vast. Vast. Listen to me, vast. I don't talk like that.
Well, it was lovely to hear you talk like that.
I see. Sorry, I'm Yorkshire.
So am I.
Yeah, I know, but you're posh Yorkshire.
Without further ado, I think it's time that I ask Kate Jones, what's on your needles?
This is my Pixie Dust Cowl that I was working on last time that I showed you. This is the cowl that I designed, and then I'm knitting using my Advent yarns, or one of my Advent yarns from this year. And I've done quite a lot. I'm on, I can't remember, I think I was on colour 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I might have only been on colour 6 when I showed you last time.
Great.
I'm now on colour 18.
Look at those colours.
So I'm doing really well. I did want to do one a day. If I'd have done that, I'd have been on the last colour today. So there were some days where I didn't work on it because I wanted to do something else, and that's fine, isn't it? But I'm on colour 18.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, I said to her, she's writing down in her book, I said, just relax. Just calm down.
I feel like, right, so I plan out a few days and I put stuff in, and then I feel like if it's in my planner, I've got to do it. I don't know if anyone else is like that. You know, it's written in pen.
It's good in some ways.
So I've got to do it because it's in pen. I can't rub it out.
You can put a line.
And I don't
through.
like crossing out.
Right.
I don't like doing that. So if I don't do it, what do I do?
And I think that was the reason why I said calm down. Don't put it in
So
literally every day.
I did take some days off, and it was good for me to do that.
You felt bad though because
I did feel bad because I didn't do it every day
just
because it was
remember,
in my
keep
planner.
calm.
So I've stopped writing it in my planner because I don't need to do that. It's not like I've got to. So yeah, I do need to just chill a bit about it and just relax a bit. Look. Oh, it's sort of getting too long to show you all.
The colours are marvellous.
They are lovely, aren't they?
I think it's going to look great on too.
Yeah, how fun is it? What I tried to do when I ordered the colours was I tried to sort of distribute. What I tried to do when I ordered the colours is I just tried to distribute. Oh, right, I'm not going to say that word ever again. I'm going to think of another word. Spread. I tried to spread out the dark colours, for example. So this dark purple, this other dark purple, the dark green. Just dot them around, and the red as well is quite a strong dark colour. Dotted those around and then interspersed the sort of paler colours or brighter ones. So it looks nice and random. You know, I didn't want to group all colours together that look sort of similar. I wanted it to look quite random. And I think I've achieved that. So yeah, I've got...
It's an excellent distribution of colours.
I'm not saying it again. You're not going to goad me into saying it like that other word I can't say that I never say. That actually I said the other night accidentally, and I thought, oh no, Dan's going to laugh at me, but you didn't.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah, I don't say that.
Okay.
I don't say that word. So I'm on colour 18, and I've got the next. So this is the one I'm currently putting in. It's gorgeous, sort of sagey, sort of green with speckles. Really pretty. And then these two are following that. So this quite dark colour, and then this lovely pale speckly, which is beautiful. And then I've got the last four waiting in my bag. So I've saved this pink one till almost to the end because I wanted, this is my favourite one, obviously. So I wanted to save this close to the end. This is number 22. So how do they go? 21, 22, 23, 24. So these will be the last ones to go in. This one at 24, I thought did look quite Christmassy because it's sort of reds and greens look. That's why I was saving that one for 24. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And look what I bought. I bought some of these little stoppers. Everybody's probably got a million of these, but I've never had these stoppers. But I do find that when I'm working on projects that have got... Oh, hang on, I've pulled it off.
Can I see it?
Projects that are, you know, small circumference in the round like this, I'm conscious of, like, I shove it down like this so that they don't slip off. And I thought, why don't I just get some of those rubber stoppers?
It's really good that they don't smell of rubber.
No, this is a clover one. I just got a pack of, I think there's 4 or 6 in there, I forget. And it's the ones where you put both needles into it at the end there. And it works brilliantly well, you know, you jam it on there and, you know, nothing comes off then. So that's really good. So I'm just working away on this. I love these last 3 that I've put in here, the pink, the blue and the orange. I love those ones.
The pink's great.
Yeah, that pink's gorgeous, isn't it?
But the purple's really nice too.
Yeah, the pink next to the deep purple.
And it's really nice, the contrast between the grey and the purple.
Yeah.
They're all really nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. So I have written this pattern up, and as soon as I've finished it and got all the photos done and everything, I am going to also record a video tutorial to put in the pattern of just the stitch pattern. It's not difficult at all, but I find that I can really easily read my knitting. I don't need to put in stitch markers, because you can really easily read your knitting and make sure that you're placing the decreased stitches, for example, make sure that that's placed in the right point when you're working the pattern round. And that's just kept me completely straight. I haven't made a single mistake the whole cowl, because sometimes when a pattern is fairly simple and you've got to repeat it all the way around, you can miscount sometimes quite easily. But this just little checking method of reading your knitting has just solved everything. I haven't, like I say, I've not made a single mistake. So I will record a tutorial before I finish it, just showing you how I read that pattern round really easily. It's dead easy to memorise as well, the pattern. So that's my Pixie Dust Cowl, and I've got all of these leftovers. I've been stacking them in these little pink organza bags, because each stripe uses about 8 grams. The one at the bottom where you cast on uses probably closer to 9, because you've got to cast on first, and the one where I'm going to bind off will probably use about 9 grams as well. But you'll be able to knit this if you've got 10 gram minis, I would think, without a problem at all. And because I'm weighing all of them and I'm making sure that I'm consistent throughout, I actually use one of these. I don't know if anyone else has got one of these little digital scales. I've had this for years.
That's your dyeing thing, isn't it?
I used to use it, yeah. Sometimes still do when I'm dyeing yarn, and if I want to be really, really precise with the amount of dye, you can actually weigh really small quantities on this. I think it's like a scientific type calculator, but you can weigh tiny, tiny quantities. So it's great for things like dyeing, but it's also brilliant for weighing minis. And I use this for all kinds of things with knitting. I've been weighing my leftovers with it to make sure that every stripe, that I've been consistent, that I'm under that 10 grams. I use it if I'm winding minis for a swap, if I'm making like an advent calendar for someone and I'm winding minis and I want to give them 10 grams of each, I use this. I use it if I'm knitting a project and I want to make sure that I don't run out of yarn for the next row. You can weigh your yarn and keep an eye on it. So they're really brilliant, and I think it only cost me about £10, and I've had it for years and years. So they're really great if you are, if you want something to help you with weighing things like that. I would really recommend those. So yeah, I'm just going to carry on with this. Maybe I'll have it finished next time. You never know. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Have it blocked and not putting pressure on myself. I say that and I always do, and then I end up miserable.
So I'm not going to let you.
No, I've told you I'm not writing it down. I'm just going to work a stripe whenever I feel like working it. And I've only got, what's that, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that right? No, 7. I've got 7 more stripes to do, and I'm halfway through one of them.
Brilliant.
Dan James?
Yes.
What's on your needles?
I finished something. So that's in what's off your needles.
Oh, very, very exciting.
Should have said that at the start of the show.
Yes.
Not because it's exciting that I've finished something,
but that
it's
is
more exciting that it's a new pattern release.
It is. I'll talk about that, like Dan said, in what's off our needles.
Because it's actually being tested too.
It has.
Not just by me.
No. I've had 3 test knitters for it.
We actually got some good knitters to test knitters as well.
Stop it. Well, I did have very good test knitters, and everyone knitted so quickly. I honestly didn't. I thought it'd be a few weeks, but
very addictive.
Apparently.
That's all. That's all
it must
to come.
be. So yes.
All to come later.
Hold on
in the
to your
show.
hats.
But no, because I finished something, as you all know, regular watchers of the show will realise that then created a bag that was empty. And it's a bag that needed a colourwork project in fingering weight to go into it, because that's what had come out of it. And so the sort of dilemma was, what should it be? And I have been really enjoying knitting the mittens, which I'll show you probably next time. I think it's the star mittens, isn't it? But it's star in the DK.
Oh, the thicker mittens. Yes.
But I'll show you those next time. So I was like, I said to Kay, maybe I should do some fingering weight mittens. So Kay went and had a look for a pattern for me, and she found the Pieces of Home pattern by Miss Wrap and Turn.
Really pretty.
I'm guessing that's not a real name.
It'd be funny if it was.
Maybe it is a real name.
Maybe it is.
But yeah, there is the design, and it looks perfect. So I cast it on, and here it is. Look.
You're covering up the pattern.
Well, I'm starting at the bottom and working up.
All right, okay.
People might be looking down here and wondering what this is. This is called a Dan braid. Basically, I've done a Latvian braid twice before, and I've never had a problem with it. But I've always been following the instructions in the pattern. So I did the same in this pattern. Now, this is not to criticise the pattern, because the pattern's clearly written, the charts are good, everything about it with regards to the colour work and the construction is great. But I have a feeling that she's not the best at describing a Latvian braid. And the reason why I say that is, the instructions for the Latvian braid were all there. And she then said, if you don't understand this, look it up on YouTube. So that to me says she perhaps realised that maybe her instructions for the Latvian braid weren't the best. Because I followed the instructions twice, and at least it looks the same. It
looks the same, but it's not a Latvian braid. It looks quite nice. When Dan first did the bottom one, he said, "Oh, I'm just going to rip it out and follow a different instruction." I said, "Well, look, it looks quite nice. So carry on. You know, it doesn't matter, does it?" And the next one does look the same. Looks quite pretty. You know.
Look, it was a hard one because I was thinking, look, I just need to go back and get this right. But then actually, I'll just do it the same on the next mitten too. I'll just follow the instructions.
You'll have to. You'll have to do it the same, otherwise it'll look all funky, won't it?
So Latvian braid, plain knitting, Latvian braid, twisted rib, and then into the colour work. And this is the palm, and it's really great. I mean, it's really, really great. It's just the sort of patterning that I like on a palm. It's sort of reminiscent of the other mitten that I'm knitting, but it's different. It's different. It sort of reminds me of flooring that you see in monasteries, which I think is just lovely. And then you really can't see what's going on the front. Oh, that was... I was showing you half and half.
Shall I do it? Your hands are really big, so
they're huge.
They kind of disguise what's...
So this is the top of the hand. You can't really see what's going on this quite yet, but it's sort of scrolly.
Yeah, it's like a
type stuff.
You can see it. It's like a scroll work that's going to go into like a flower thing.
Yeah. And then on the other side, that's the one that makes me think of flooring in a monastery. And I really enjoyed doing...
You can see it emerging, can't
you? That one you really can.
Is that the thumb gusset that you can see sort of here? Is that the thumb?
No, that is part of the front of the mitten.
Right, it's just how your stitches are distributed.
Because I've distributed them evenly at the moment.
Right.
And then I'm going to be increasing, obviously.
Yeah.
And then those stitches will move over onto this needle as I increase.
Yeah.
When I create the thumb gusset, which it's coming up right now, actually. I've got to say everything about it, other than me not understanding quite what I was doing with the Latvian braid, everything's been fine. The challenges for me have been the fact that I'm knitting a fingering weight mitt.
It's great.
And I'm also using slippy yarn.
Oh, yeah.
All of which has created some real challenges. Challenges up to the point of I made a pig's ear of it, dropped a stitch, and I ripped back part, and then you ripped back the rest for me, and then I reknit the colour work, and I'm really glad that we did that. You know, it's fine. There's so few stitches on the needles. It's not like a jumper, is it? So, you know, you might as well rip it back and get it right.
Yeah.
I've had some real challenges on getting my tension right because it's so slippy, it's so different to what I'm used to. I'm real positive challenges, though. I really like this. It's what I want to do. You know, I want to try and get my fingering weight colour work up to the standard of my thicker weight colour work.
Really nice.
On the changeovers, you know, it's not great at certain points. And
your gauge looks good across the colour work, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks...
I'm pretty happy.
Good.
Pretty happy with the colour work. It's just it's quite It's quite technical for me, this. You know, it's only my second mitten, and a mitten is definitely different to a sock. It's very different to a sock.
Yeah, I mean, the really pretty thing about this design is that she recommends using a crazy Zauber ball, and that's what she's used in the pattern, so you get that graduated effect of the colourwork. So you're doing that, and so we've got a solid and then we've got a Zauber ball. And actually, both of these yarns are new to you, aren't they? Yeah, so we've got a solid and we've got a Zauber ball. And the solid, actually, is completely new to me, this yarn. I thought I'd give it a go. I don't know what motivated me to try this, but actually it's really nice and it was inexpensive. Viking yarn, baby wool. I don't know if I said that right.
It's lovely, isn't it?
And it's 312. And it's a 100% superwash merino, fingering weight, 50 grams, and you get 175 metres. It's really soft. It's gorgeously soft, really pretty. And it's quite tonal, actually. I was just looking at it then as it's knitting up. It's actually really nice and tonal. It's not a completely flat colour. It's lovely and soft. And then the Zauber ball, I had this in my stash. So when I bought this, I bought two colours. I bought a cream and I bought this because I wasn't sure which one you'd want. But I wanted something that was a high contrast to the orangey colour. And this Zauber ball is, orangery. I didn't see that underneath.
It's great fun.
I was reading the bit above it, which I don't think is the name. Orangery.
It's perfect. There's browns and oranges.
Yeah, there's browns and oranges and a bit of purple coming through as well. It always shows you on a Zauber ball how it's going to knit up. So it's Schoppel Wool Zauber ball crazy. I'm sure you.
This is my new fingering weight colourwork project. I'm knitting it on the Cubics, the Knit Pro Cubics needles, which are great. And I feel much more confident now we've ripped it back and started again with the colourwork.
What size did we decide on? I can't remember. I think we went one up from the pattern, did we?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
I think that's what we did.
I don't. They're 3mm.
3mm, yeah.
Yes.
I think the pattern said 2.75. We've gone up to 3mm.
Definitely looks right to me.
Yeah, I mean, the size and the gauge and everything looks good. Yeah.
So that's the Pieces of Home by Miss Rappenturn. What else is on your needles?
This is something completely different to anything. Well, I haven't knit anything quite like this for a few years. I'm knitting a hat, and obviously I've knit a hat, but not in this thickness of yarn. Not, like I say, not for a few years. I've got to refer back to a hat. And here it is that I knit. Like I said, it was probably, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago that I knit this hat. And this is my warm winter hat. That look, I need to make, the pom-pom needs attention. It's become a little bit floppy. I need to just re-anchor that, which I can do because when I attached it, I just sort of tied it in a knot. What's that? Oh, that's the tail end. It was so thick, I didn't realise it was the tail end. But yeah, I tied it in a knot so I can totally tighten that up. It's just become a bit loose. But yeah, I knit this hat, like I said, probably 3 years ago. And this is my warm winter hat. And I wear this all the time, don't I? Yeah. It's just lovely. And for all of those 3 years, if it's that long, it must be, I've wanted to write up the pattern. And I've just never got round to it. And just recently I thought, do you know what, I'm going to knit myself another one of those hats because I really love it and it'll give me an opportunity to write up the pattern.
It's a great hat. She looks amazing in it. The ropes really stand out on it.
I'll put it on. I am able to put it on because I've got decent hair, but yeah, look.
It's so cute.
I just love it. It's just, and look at how bobbly my bobble is. But it's lovely. I just love it. And I put in this kind of twisty thing here going up, which it looks a bit rope-like, doesn't it?
That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, just to give it a bit of texture. It's just so warm and cosy, and I just kind of want to leave it on. Oh, wait, I'll take it off so I can show you. So yeah, I love it and wear it pretty much daily at the moment because it has been really cold the past couple of weeks. So right, I'm going to knit another one. I knew that I'd written it down somewhere. It took me about half an hour to find it in one of my old books, but I did find it. So I was like, oh, thank goodness. So the first thing I had to do was to get another skein of the yarn. Now the yarn is Malabrigo Raster, which is a super bulky yarn. And I did initially order a colour which was called Melon. And on the screen it looked like shades, it was a slightly variegated, but it looked like shades of like a mushroomy colour with just neutrally cream and then a bit of peach. When it came, unfortunately, it was just like a neon peach, fairly solid. So
It was blooming awful.
it wasn't, yeah, I mean, it wasn't, I didn't want to wear it on my head. It was a lovely colour, but not the sort of thing I want to wear on my head. You know, you'd see me from the moon, I think, wearing that. So I sent it back and they actually apologised. It was Wool Warehouse. They were brilliant, actually, because I emailed them and I said, I fully accept that screens show colours differently, but this is completely different. And they emailed me straight back and they said, you're quite right. They said Malabrigo are renowned for their batches, their colour batches being different, but this is very different. So they retook the photo and replaced it on their website, sent it back free post and refunded me. Not a problem. It was brilliant service, as always, from Wool Warehouse. It was great. So I had to search around for another colour. They unfortunately didn't have another colour. I wanted something neutral. Didn't have another colour, but I found another skein in a different shop. So the colour I'm using is Cape Cod Grey. I always think it's funny because in the US grey is spelt differently. We always spell it with an E here. But I get so confused when I'm writing grey because I see it so often with an A. I always have to think, is it an A or is it an E? But yeah, it's Cape Cod Grey. And this yarn, I mean, it's so lovely. It's so thick. It's super bulky. You get 90 yards for 150 grams. The recommended needle size is 9 to 10 millimetre. 100% merino wool. Single ply. So this is what I've got left because I'm still knitting the hat. So you can see the sort of construction of it there. It's almost like pencil roving. I think that's what you call it, isn't it? It's almost like that. It's so thick. But it's just made such a lovely change to be knitting with something so completely different to what I usually knit with, you know, probably fingering weight, DK weight. So it's been really nice. And I knit all this, I think, in a day. So I'm almost to the crown decreases. And I really like doing it in this neutral colour because you can really see those twisty rope-like stitches going down. I took inspiration, I'd never named this hat, but I took inspiration from the colourway name. Because it just reminded me, because Dan always says it looks like ropes, and then that reminded me of a harbour with ropes. This was called Cape Cod Grey, so I've just called it the Cape Cod hat. It seemed to make sense.
Definitely.
Now this is going to be the platinum pattern for March, for our patrons. So this will be going out 1st of March probably. And I still think it's cold enough. Certainly in this country, our cold months really seem to be January, February, March. Sometimes even into April it's been really cold. So, you know, Northern Hemisphere I'm obviously talking about. So I think still beginning of March it's certainly cold enough to wear something like this. But also makes great gifts because it knits up so quick. I'm actually using 8mm needles, because I really like that tighter gauge, because what I find happens with this yarn is that once it's blocked, that kind of relaxes it a bit. But then as I've worn it, it kind of moulds to the shape of your head. So it does stretch out a bit, and you can see the sort of difference between the two of you know, of one that's been worn and one that hasn't yet. So I like using that, the needle size that's just a little bit lower than the recommended. I think it works really well. So I'm, like I said, almost to the decreases, so I'll get this finished off. And the pom-pom actually that I made for this was pure mohair silk. Do you know, it was a ball of kid silk haze that I used. Was it pure mohair or did I mix it with fingering weight? No, I think it's 2 different shades actually. It is. It's 2 different shades of kid silk haze. There's a cream and there's a blue in there. Can you see? So I'll probably do a pom-pom similar to that, I think. I've got actually some undyed Suri alpaca and silk. I might use that because I think cream on the top of that grey will be really pretty. So I think I'll probably do that. So yeah, I'm just going to finish that off, get it written up, and then that will be my next platinum design. Super quick, brilliant for gifts. I'm sure if you look around, you could probably find a more economical substitute for this yarn, because it's not, you know, it's not the cheapest yarn. It's 100% merino, it's Malabrigo. So I can't remember how much I paid. I think it was about £15, maybe 12, £15, something like that. I'm certain there'll be substitutes that are much more economical, you know, for the Super Bowl kit if you wanted to make a few for gifts, you know, for this coming Christmas. So yeah, and I'm knitting it with a small circular, but I did also get these. Look at this. Oh, aren't they fabulous? It's the Adi Calibri, and they went up to big sizes, so I got the 8mm. Because I'm definitely going to be making more of these. I think I'll make some for gifts for this coming Christmas. So I thought I'd treat myself to those as well. Aren't they gorgeous?
I finished a sock.
Oh, fabulous. Blocker.
Yes.
We need a blocker alert.
It's marvellous. It's the Dunbrock. And I finally, look, I just take my time with socks because there'll always be a slight challenge for me, but it's a challenge now that I've grown to just love. And this pattern, it's just perfect for me. It's perfect. But there's a sock, and if you look at the top...
Oh, it looks great. Yeah, it's
I was totally messing it up.
all wrong up here. Don't look at that.
As it moves down the sock, it gradually gets better and better until I nail it. And there's nothing better, I think, in anything than learning something as you go, you know, because you can feel yourself getting better. You can see yourself getting better. Also, as well, what I love about this sock is it's so long, because it's designed to be cuffed.
Yeah.
Which is just cool. I think that's such a cool look. And so the first sock is done, and the second sock is cast on. And the best bit about the second sock is, look, I'm getting it right on the top. All my twisted stitches are perfect. Oh yes. So I'm really sort of looking forward to knitting through this one and not making any mistakes. Also as well, the other thing that I always need to do, I need to write it down on my hand or something. On the back of my hand.
On your hand?
When I'm doing my heel turn, pick up, whatever it is, it always goes loose. I have to do it tight. Do it tight. It's silly because, you know, I sway towards the tightness. But for some reason, I think it's the SSKs, for some reason they just go loose and then everything gets loose and I don't know.
Well, I'll monitor it when you're doing it.
Well,
do you want
last
me to
time, last time I just did it tight and it was fine.
You just need to be conscious of it.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that's it. If I write it on my hand in Sharpie,
so
then
lovely.
when I get to that bit, don't worry, I'm not going to do that. But when I get to that bit, I'll do it tight and everything will be fine. Because that's how I fixed it before. I just literally did it, I actually did it as tight as I could.
Yeah. It's a really pretty colour. This was the strawberry colour I did a sock set in the My Favourite Colourways last year, and it was the Pick Your Own Strawberries.
That's
and
right. This
was the strawberry colour.
Perfect.
Really pretty colour.
It's a great pattern because of the four, well, it's more than a 4-row repeat. It's a 8-row repeat, so it just sort of flies down because the tricky bit's only over a short amount of stitches, and then you've got the texture around the back, and I think actually as socks go, that probably makes it a slightly more wearable sock too.
Yeah, I mean the texture is nice and sort of squishy, and it's a bit ribby, so it sort of pulls in nicely.
If you enjoy knitting textured socks, this is a nice little step up from that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because it gives you, like Dan said, it gives you that little bit of something that you've got to think about, but it's only over those stitches. It falls on, the outside of
each foot.
Yeah. And then the rest is just lovely textured stitches, which are really pleasant to do.
And I'm a convert now to DPN
cozies.
thingies.
Yeah.
Perfect. So that's the Dunbrock.
Revelation for him.
I'm thoroughly enjoying it and really happy to be knitting the second sock and not making a mess up.
So cute.
What else is on your needles?
Right,
Hook.
well, the hook, yes, the last thing is I've been doing a lot of work on my crochet granny stripe. I've actually been working on this for my bedtime knitting for, I don't know, 3-4 weeks maybe. And I'm getting close to the end. And in fact, I'm considering with this one, because I've got several granny stripe blankets, I'm considering with this one actually having it as a square rather than a traditional sort of rectangle shape. I think it might be quite nice to have a square blanket. And if I do that, I am quite close to finishing. So let me show you where I'm at. And I did put a marker. Oh, look how lovely it is. But look, it is quite long. Look. Oh, so it starts here. All the way. So it is quite big now. So here's where I was. I was right here where this blue marker is. So in this grey section, basically here. And then I've done, since then, from this grey section, I've done all of that. That's quite a lot, isn't it? Look at the pink. Do you recognise the pink? Look, it's the pink from my favourite colourways. Isn't it lovely?
From last year?
No, that I just did.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
The one I just did.
My goodness. You've moved fast.
I know. And I've done all of that since then.
That's insane.
A lot of these actually, Ali, lovely Ali, Little Drops of Wonderful Ali, gave me some minis. Oh, it's stuck to me. And I put them in here. So quite a lot of these, Ali, quite a lot of these are yours. So the lemon, the grey, this sort of lobstery colour, this pink, quite a lot of them are from Ali, which is really nice. So I think I'm almost there. I think I will make it a square. I mean, why not? Because like I say, I've got two other granny stripes. I've got the one that I did in all pinks and peaches. Do you remember that one? And then one that I made for Bryony. And those two are used all the time. And this one I know will get some use. I might put this one on the back of the chair in the kitchen because there isn't a blanket down there. That might be quite nice. But aren't granny stripes just lovely? This is a pattern by Lucy of Attic 24. Free pattern. You know, you can find it on her blog. And it's just perfect. I just love it. It's so pretty. And this one I've just been putting in whatever I fancied, really. Trying to keep it sort of random. And it's just lovely. So it's all fingering weight. I'm using a 3mm hook, which is my favourite for crochet and fingering weight. It's one of the Clover Amore one. Is it Amore? I think it's called that. Clover Amore.
That sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, it's the song with a rubbery handle. Really love. They're my favourite hooks. And yeah, so just scraps really. And this last one I'm putting in here is a mini of mine that I dyed. Can't even remember when. So I think I will, now I've been talking about this, I think I will make this square one, and it'll be big enough. I measured it, I think last night or the night before, and I was only like maybe an inch off it being square. So if I finish this one, I think it probably will be square. And then I might put a border on it. I might put a border around it, or I might just leave it. I might just be radical and just leave it, because then if I did ever want to pick it up and make it bigger, I could, couldn't I? So maybe I'll do that. So yeah, that's my granny stripe, almost finished as usual.
So you could finish it as a square, and then you can just easily just pick it up and add more to it.
Yeah, I could, yeah.
Is that because it's crochet? Because you couldn't do that with
knitting, no.
It's because it's crochet.
Probably, yeah, because with crochet you just have that one stitch on the go. You only have one stitch left.
Right. So would you have to free that up to start adding to?
No, not necessarily. I could do, but not necessarily. No, you can just start.
Because you're just hooking through.
Yeah,
long as you know where to hook into.
And how to start off, yeah. Because I'm magic knotting with this. I've used all magic knots, but some people don't. Some people actually cut their yarn at the end of a row and then join in the next yarn.
Right.
So effectively you finish it every time when you're cutting that yarn.
Right.
And then you're starting again.
Right.
So I could just like I say, leave it at a square, use it, do whatever. And if I did ever want to make it bigger, I can still do that. So, I mean, that's great, isn't it? And I chained 200 for this. And that always gives me a really nice lap size. Oh, sorry, darling.
Sorry.
So you can see how wide it is. It's just perfect lap size. It covers you entirely. So that's my lovely granny stripe.
Folks, the moment has finally come. 35 years ago, I went on a school trip that planted in me a lifelong love of history. Now, over the years, we've tried to film in this location a few times, and it's gone okay. But to be honest, to film here, you really do sort of need to know what you're doing. You've got to have the right equipment. Now, hopefully, we now know what we're doing.
I've seen it. No worries at all.
Because how would you like to join me over 8 walks as we venture right the way through Northumberland and we discover the story of, as I said earlier on in the show, what I think is our greatest historical monument, and that is, of course, Hadrian's Wall. Yes, finally it's time to go walking the wall. Welcome everyone to Northumberland. This is perhaps my favourite county in all of England. Rolling hills make some absolutely wonderful vistas and gorgeous landscapes to look out on, and scattered in between those hills are some of the most unique and unforgettable little villages. As you walk through this wonderful county, it's hard to imagine that this was once the edge of one of the greatest empires that the world has ever seen. But every so often, echoes in the landscape remind us of what's come before. Just take a look at this. Behind me lies the vast ditch that's known as the Valum Hadriani. That was built by soldiers of the Roman Empire nearly 2,000 years ago. After 874 years of expansion, Rome decided it was time to draw a line in the sand, and that was where they drew it. The ditch was actually only half the plan, because in front of it he built a huge wall stretching 73 miles from coast to coast, with mile castles along the way and huge forts every 7 miles. It was an absolutely staggering achievement. Now, not much of the original wall remains, but trust me when I tell you there's just enough for it still to take your breath away. In this series, I'm going to take you on 8 walks across Northumberland. Starting in the east and working across to the west, we'll see some of the best sights this county has to offer. And along the way, we'll discover the story of the wall that put this county on the map. Welcome to Walking the Wall. Welcome, everyone, to the tiny hamlet of Halton in the county of Northumberland. We're in the northeast corner of England, and Scotland is about 40 miles in that direction as the crow flies. We're about to start an adventure that I've been dreaming of for years. Now, the countryside around here is absolutely stunning, and the story's just waiting to be discovered. But there's something about this place that makes it extra special, and that's because it holds a very special place in my heart. You see, anyone who knows me will tell you that I love all things to do with history, from the Romans to the Greeks and the Tudors to the Vikings. And if you were to ask me, where did my love of history begin? I could tell you, because it was right here. I was 10 years old. I'd come out on a school history trip, and we'd come to Hadrian's Wall, actually about 5 miles from this spot. And I was just transfixed by what I saw, and the seed that was planted on that trip became my love of history, because the Romans led me to the Greeks and then to the Egyptians, and then onto a lifelong love of everything to do with history. So if you were to ask me if I was excited about this series, my answer would be most definitely yes. In this first walk in the wall, we're visiting a part of Northumbria that I've never been to before. We're going to begin our epic quest along the Hadrian's Wall path. We'll also uncover the story of King Oswald of Northumbria. And finally, we'll visit one of the most unique sites of any of the forts all along Hadrian's Wall. Right now, though, it's time for me to do some serious walking. There's actually 70 castles still lived in to this day in Northumberland, and the most famous of all is probably Alnwick Castle, which is also known, of course, as Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, because it was used as a location for Hogwarts in the first 2 films. But not only that, it's not just Hogwarts, it's also the home of Bertie and Edith in Downton Abbey.
And I think that's the reason why I love it so much. Loads of castles, tons of history, hardly any people. My goodness, for me it doesn't get much better than that. But it was the Romans who brought me here as a child, and it's what they did here that's brought us here for this series. And how exactly did they end up in England? Well, they arrived in 43 AD into a land populated by Celtic tribes. This was a time before England, Scotland, Wales or Ireland even existed. And when they turned up, there was no stone roads, no stone buildings, and not a lot of order. So it was exactly 1,900 years ago that a brand new emperor by the name of Hadrian came out on a tour of his empire. And he made a pretty momentous decision, because for the 874 years prior to Hadrian becoming emperor, the Roman Empire had worked in a very specific way. They pushed outwards. Suddenly though, he made this huge decision to stop. It was time to draw a line in the sand, and we can see what's left of that line just up here. That on its own was quite the achievement, but the ditch was only half the story, because the main attraction was a 10-foot high, 15-foot wide wall. Now, you're expecting a giant wall to home interview, aren't you? Well, the wonderful thing about Hadrian's Wall is it gradually reveals itself to you as we get further into the national park, which is that way. That's where all our walks are going to be through this series. It's a bit like reading a good book. If you suddenly got to the crux of the story in chapter 1, you wouldn't want to read the rest, would you? No. Hadrian's Wall gradually is going to unveil itself to us as we work our way through this series. But 1900 years ago, if we went back in time, the wall would be pretty much on where that tree line is. Right now though, we're cresting the top of the Valum Hadriani, and I've never done this before. This is superb. funny thing is though, the robbing out of the wall only happened on the bits that are close to each coast, and we're only 20 miles maximum from the east coast of England here. As you get into the central sections, where you get further away from where people used to live, because I mean, to be fair, it's similar now, but certainly back in those days people lived closer to water, so the further you got into the Northumberland National Park, the more wall that's left, because people couldn't be bothered to go there and rob it out. What's so disappointing though is just 250 years ago there was still loads of wall left here. You would have been able to see it from one coast to the other. There was one single event that wiped out the majority of Hadrian's Wall, and it was the building of the road, which we're just picking up now. We've made our way onto the national trail, which is going to form such a huge part of this series, because this is the Hadrian's Wall path. Now, I've had the privilege of walking along sections of this, never this bit, but sections of this before, and I've also run along it too, and let me tell you, it just doesn't get much better than this. Thousands of hardy walkers each year walk along this path, and you can actually get a book. It's like a passport, and within the passport there's little areas, and they're all named, and each of the named spots is somewhere along the wall, and what you do is you call in at that place, they stamp your book, and you do it just to prove that you've been to all the stops along the way on the Hadrian's Wall path. My wife and I have actually dreamt of walking this path, because all along the way there's B&Bs, there's also some campsites, and there's some hotels that walkers normally book into along the way. And let me tell you, I'm too old for camping now, what with my height. I remember actually when I was a kid, as I just get over this rather cool style, whoa, this is epic. It's perfect actually. That's what I mean about this wall. It's so well maintained. It really is quite straightforward to get along. I've been on much worse paths is what I mean. You know, some gateways can be really sort of treacherous to get over. But yes, I remember camping as a kid, and even when I was like 15, 16, I was so tall that my head pushed like the top of the tent outwards and my feet pushed the bottom of the tent outwards. And anyone who's been camping will know if it rains and you're pushing at the top or the bottom, you're going to get wet. So I think we will do it one day, my wife and I. I'm telling you we will. But I think we'll do the B&Bs and the hotels. Fighter pilots have all the best fun, don't they? You're not telling me they didn't think I know what we'll do for a laugh. We'll go and fly along the line of Hadrian's Wall. Of course they did. And who wouldn't? That's what I'd do. I've got to say, with the fighter planes, the very busy road, it's only for a short section, thankfully. Thanks to General Wade and his silly military road. Ugh. But we've made it. We are now just on the outside of the wall because the road is built on top of the wall, so the line of the wall is right there. So this, in effect, now is barbarian country, which we're going to be exploring in part 2. We're also going to be uncovering a little bit of the story of King Oswald, a past king of Northumbria. But right now I'm going to traverse this road and get off it because it's not very nice. So you go off and have a little rest, and I'll see you later in the show for more Walking the Wall.
Oh my goodness. I hope you enjoyed that.
They did, I know they did.
I hope so. There's literally no other subject which I'm more passionate about than the Romans and Hadrian's Wall.
You can tell.
And it's difficult
I said
in
that
what order it goes in. I think it's Hadrian's Wall and then the Romans. And it is all because I can literally remember, I've actually written about this in our magazine, Knitability. I can't remember which issue it was, but I wrote about my trip to Hadrian's Wall and the disastrous bus journey.
Oh yeah.
Because we got on this bus and we were supposed to be going to Housesteads.
Right.
No, we were going to Vindolanda and the Army Museum.
Ah, right, okay.
And the bus was so slow, we never got there.
Right.
So
didn't it break down or something?
it was like kicking out black smoke from the back, and we were moving at like 35 miles an hour up the A1. It was just a disaster. So my history teacher just thought on the hoof, and we were supposed to be going for the day, and we had half an hour at Chester's Roman Fort, and then we went home. But in that half an hour, that's where it all started for me. So to finally go back there and tell the story of this wall and this part of the world, and it's marvellous.
I loved it.
We're so unbelievably grateful that my brother is so talented.
What did you think of the music? Isn't it just fabulous?
For the first time ever, now, previous music that my brother's done for us, quite a lot of it has been produced in his studio by him using computers and electronics. There's always an element of a live musician in there as well. But this time, it's the first time ever the music is all live. So everything was recorded in a really great studios in London in 2019 actually. And it's the players who play for the Crown. So it's all the string players who play for the Crown played on that music that is the tune for our Walk in the Wall series. So grateful.
So beautiful. We were choosing the music, weren't we? Because he sent about 5 or 6 through, didn't he?
That's right.
For us to choose from.
Yeah.
And I just kept saying, oh, I love that one, love that one, love that one. They were just all amazing.
It was very tricky.
It was tricky.
Deciding what the right thing to go with was.
But this one just felt right, didn't it? When we just imagined the landscape that you'd been looking at the time. And when I watched it this morning, and I actually put my in-ears in to listen to it because I wanted to turn it up really loud. And it just, almost made me a bit tearful because it's just so beautiful. I just thought it was so beautiful, the music. And you'll hear it again.
Now, every month, we've actually done it already, this month, we do our Patron only show, which is an hour-long live show. And for the first time ever this month, we actually had a pre-recorded segment in by our wonderful Jen, who is our editor of Knitability. And it set me thinking that later on this year, I'm going to try and fix up at times it's quite difficult to pin him down because he's always all over the place with his work, and he's sometimes flying off places to go and do stuff. But I'm going to try and pin Don down, and even if it's just a 5-minute little interview, and I can maybe get him to play some of the things live that he's done over the years and introduce him to all of you guys. So coming later on this year, hopefully I'm going to be able to get Dom on our Patron only show.
I really hope so. He's lovely. You'll love Dom.
Yeah.
He's such a nice fella.
Yeah.
He's always got a smile on his face.
Yeah.
And he's so talented. He's so amazing.
What about those earthworks?
What? Wasn't that amazing?
I mean,
I said to Dan, what on earth they were you probably noticed them where Dan sort of flew over the Vallum and you saw the double ditch thing. They were all pits,
I know, it's just amazing, isn't it?
It's Roman
it's just
workings.
Totally amazing that it's history like that. It's tangible history that's physically sort of been dug into the earth, that's changed the landscape, which I feel like it connects us directly with the people who did it. And, it's so long ago, but still, it's all still there. It's just fascinating. So much more to come in part 2 later on in the show. Because right now, it's very exciting. Because, yes, I've actually finished something. So it's time for Kay to ask.
Dan Jones.
Yes.
What's off your needles?
Well.
Clap, everybody. Yay.
I actually finished this a little while ago.
That's
Sorry.
the right side.
But I held it back. And I held it back because you had so many things on the go. But then, unbelievably, holding it back has ended up being quite fortuitous.
It has.
Because the test knitters were so
phenomenally quick that I was thinking that I would like to release it. Yeah, I know. I was thinking in my head, it'd be nice to release it on Valentine's Day because it's the Sweetheart Cowl, and that was the time scale I sort of put forward when I put out the call for the test knitters. So I had that in my head that it would probably take about 4 weeks, and everybody finished it. Super, super quick.
And here it is. It's the Sweetheart Cowl.
Look how lovely.
Now, this cowl was designed for me initially by Kay last year. We sat down and we spoke about all the elements of colour work that I really enjoy. All the sort of design elements as well that Kay brings whenever she designs anything. And this is what appeared. And obviously I knit through it first of all, and I didn't think there was ever any intention to release it as a pattern.
No.
But then you guys just kept messaging saying it looks so great. And what I felt was, when I was knitting it, was this is addictive. It's just so much fun. And it's so rewarding with what you're seeing. So then to get the test knitters coming back and saying exactly the same thing.
Said exactly the same thing, yeah.
And also as well, what was so great about one of the test knitters was it was her first ever colourwork project.
Absolutely. So
and we would probably have said this was intermediate, wouldn't we?
She did a fabulous job. Yeah, that's what I would have said. But now that I know that someone who's never done colourwork can knit through it happily, then I would say that it is good for a beginner colourwork.
So this is named after the Sweetheart Abbey, which is it's just into Scotland.
Just
literally, because we did it on a day trip.
We did
from
we were staying,
Hadrian's Wall.
Yeah, we were staying near Carlisle, weren't we?
We were, yeah, in that house with the Arga.
Yeah,
that was cool.
That was a cool house.
Apart from the bed where I had to get a plank to stick underneath it.
Oh gosh, you did.
We got into bed and I literally ended up
it was the mattress was so bad.
And this obviously named after the Sweetheart Abbey, but also
I'll put it on.
It fits perfectly because it is, of course, Valentine's Day in just a couple of weeks. But also as well, Kay knitted it for me, which, I mean, this all gets romantic now, which we don't want to get into. So we won't get into it here.
Dan's my little sweetheart.
But look, over the years, lots of people have asked us to tell the story of how we met. And we've now done that.
We have.
And it's on our latest radio show.
Go and have a listen
so
if you're interested.
So if you haven't heard it,
it's lovely.
Go and have a listen.
It's perfect. Ooh.
Yes.
It's lovely. Perfect.
It's gorgeous. Just the most... What I'm now sort of looking forward to...
I feel a bit like a monk. Do I look like a monk? It's really nice. I like that bit stands up like that. You can hide your face in that it's cold.
What I'm looking forward to is the next fingering weight colourwork thing that you're going to design.
Oh, get
for me.
on, man.
She clearly is good at designing colourwork projects. Because this is just...
Who knew?
It's amazing.
But yeah, so what we've not said
Yes.
is that this pattern is now available.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks to my lovely test knitters, you know who you are. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's now available, so you can purchase this on Ravelry or Lovecrafts as usual. Sweetheart Cowl. So it's 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn. You'll need a solid colour, and I do recommend a solid colour, not like a tonal. I wouldn't go for a tonal. You really need that solid colour to set off the variegated. So 1 solid colour and 1 variegated. And I've said in the pattern, and I also say on the page on sort of Ravelry and Lovecrafts, that the way to get this kind of tapestry faded sort of look is for your variegated yarn to have 1 colour that matches your solid yarn. You know, it doesn't have to be exact, but if it's close enough, you will get this kind of faded look. And I'll show you the 2 yarns that Dan used. So we've got, my testers of, you know, they didn't run out of yarn, have used 95 grams of the Regia. So this is Regia Merino Yak. So I've got about 5 grams left of the solid, and then I used about 45 grams of the variegated, and this one is fondant fibre in Happy Christmas Harry. And if you look, if I hold that yarn against there, you can see there is a colour in there. Can you see there? That matches the solid, and that's how you get that lovely sort of crumbling aged stone wall sort of look.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's cool. So yes, thoroughly enjoyed that project, and really looking forward to seeing all of your lovely projects.
Absolutely.
As they appear too.
Yes.
But Kate Jones, what's off your needles?
I also have something. I finished Bryony's Lost Socks. Do you know how, when I showed you this last time, this is the one that had I finished this? I think I'd finished it or almost finished it. So this was the first one. And I said when I dyed this yarn that I didn't do anything to stop it from flashing or pooling. And I was just going to see what happened, you know, and I got this sort of spirally thing going on. And do you know what? I'm all right with it. It's okay. But, you know, my sort of experiment into not doing anything to avoid this has, you know, it worked, if you like, because I know that if I don't do anything to avoid it, this is the sort of effect that you get. So when I knit the second one, it started to knit up kind of differently, and the colours look slightly different. And this is also a consequence of doing nothing to avoid because the other thing that can happen when you dye yarn is sometimes when you're knitting a pair of socks, you might find that the second sock has kind of less speckles or it's less saturated. That kind of thing. I see that really often, and I'm not particularly keen on that. But I had a bit of that going on as well. So again, that kind of proves that what I do to avoid it, for me, it's worth doing because it does kind of avoid it. But look, can you see what I mean? This one is slightly paler than this one. This one seems to have a lot more of that red tone than this one. And it's kind of knit up slightly differently. I feel that this one hasn't kind of flashed as much as this one. But it probably has. It's just that it's not so obvious because the yarn isn't quite so saturated. And that's as a result of not doing anything. Don't do any sort of techniques that I normally do to avoid this kind of thing happening. So I'm not disappointed in any way because it's been a really good experiment for me. And you know, because you do often wonder, you know, I do these extra things when I'm dyeing yarn, and you've seen me dye yarn loads of times, and I do lots of things to avoid that situation. And it's, for me now, I know that it's worthwhile doing that because I get a much more even finish to the yarn. But in this instance, because these are Lost Socks, you know, the Lost TV series, kind of works because it's mad and bonkers, isn't it?
Like that series is. Like
the series, so that kind of works. So yeah, I mean, I really like that, and they do kind of look jungly, don't they? I just want to say one last thing. This heel, because you might ask, is my butterfly heel. So it's in my lattice-topped socks, if you want to give that heel a go. It's brilliant. I love it.
It's time for us to get back to Northumberland, and we're in Celtic no man's land.
Yes.
As we discover more in Walking the Wall Part 2. Welcome back to Walking the Wall. We've turned off, we've left the Hadrian's Wall path behind us as we venture out into dangerous Celtic lands. We've actually turned onto another pretty impressive trail. This is St Oswald's Way. It starts a few miles back in that direction, just probably 4 or 5 miles, at a place called Heavenfield, which we're going to visit later on in the series. And it heads on up the coast this way, 97 miles, before it finishes on Lindisfarne. Round about that time, Christianity just hadn't taken off in England. There were small pockets of it, but nothing of any serious nature at all. It wasn't the case in Ireland. Ireland, it had gone absolutely crazy a couple of 100 years before that. And so when King Oswald became King of Northumbria, he decided that he wanted to convert his people to Christianity en masse, everyone. So he contacted Ireland and he asked them to send over a bishop, and they did. They sent over a man called Aidan. Oswald gave him the island of Lindisfarne, and from there Aidan set up a monastery, and my goodness, did he convert the people of Northumbria. They came in droves and Christianity took off in just a few years after Aidan arriving. Now you might just recognise the names Holy Island and Heavenfield that I mentioned earlier on. That's where St Oswald's Way starts. They're actually the titles
of two of the books from the DCI Ryan series written by LJ Ross. I'm reading them at the moment, and my goodness, they're superb. And I can now tell you firsthand that she's just brilliant. LJ Ross, she's the author. She is just brilliant at setting the scene, because it feels like I'm walking through the books as I'm walking along St Oswald's Way. It's just marvellous. Definitely worth a read. We're now well and truly north of Hadrian's Wall. It lies actually about 1.5 miles. We're actually just starting to turn back towards it now, but it's 1.5 miles in that direction. Now, you may have thought that crossing over was something that people just didn't do. I certainly did when I first came to visit here. I assumed it was one straight big wall with no crossing points, and anyone that came over here was going to get attacked by some Celtic warrior painted all blue. The truth is not quite so exciting. The reason why we know this is the mile castles and the forts. They had gates that would allow people to move from the north and to the south, and from the south and to the north. And if you had your papers and you paid a tax, you could do exactly that. So it was less of a defensive barrier, and it was actually more of a border control system. So you can bet the soldiers manning Hadrian's Wall felt awfully cosy looking out across Celtic no man's land. And it does raise an interesting question. Which way of life would you prefer? Well, the Celtic way of life was certainly close to nature. You lived a very rustic life, most probably in a roundhouse, very close to your animals, but you fought a lot, and life expectancy was much lower than the Romans. Whilst the Romans brought with them flat roads, stone buildings, shops, a lot more safety, and really the roots of the Western civilization that so many of us live in today. What made the Romans so clever was the way they integrated the countries that they conquered. Because, yes, there was certain criteria like money and respect that you needed before you could join the empire, but pretty much everyone, including slaves, eventually would get the opportunity to become a Roman citizen. Of course, there is a downside to that. You had to pay taxes. The question is, what would I do if you dropped me here in 122 AD? Would I stay here on the barbarian side and live a very rustic life, very close to nature, but probably with a high chance of me dying in some tribal dispute with another Celtic tribe? Or would I go on the Roman side with the straight roads, the swimming pools, the underfloor heating? It's not really a difficult decision, is it? I'd definitely opt for the Roman way of life. And with that in mind, I think we should find our way back to the Hadrian's Wall path. So after successfully venturing north into the land of the Celts, I've made it back safely inside the line of Hadrian's Wall. I'm back on Hadrian's Wall path, and to my right is the military road, which is of course sat right on top of where the wall once stood. So this would have been a really big place. Think of it like a walled town. And within the walled town lived the soldiers. Now, the soldiers who were garrisoned here, they were actually, they were a cavalry unit, and they used to live with their horses. Their barracks would have on one side, there would be the places for the soldiers to live, and then attached on the other side, there would be all the stables. So it's quite a nice setup, really. And don't think that they weren't living in a certain amount of luxury, because Romans loved their luxury. And in 1827, some archaeological work was done just over the other side of this wall, and they found some seriously posh baths, really big baths, and Romans loved their baths, and supposedly these baths were the biggest and poshest that's ever been found all along the wall, so they must have been pretty impressive. Now, Roman forts followed a similar layout all across the empire. That meant no matter where you ended up, if you were a soldier or a legionary, as they were known, you knew where your barracks were and you knew where to get your food from. But don't think that it was just soldiers here on their own, because their families were here too. We're actually walking down. This is the main road that used to run through the fort. This is obviously a modern relay of that road, but this is the Via Praetoria, and the Via Praetoria used to run up to the Praetorium, which would have been just up there where those gates are, and that's where the commanding officer used to live, and he actually lived there with his family. But it wasn't just the commanding officer who got to see his family, because it was the common legionary too, who also had family in tow at forts all along Hadrian's Wall and across the empire actually. Just outside the fort, see, the common legionary wasn't as lucky as the commanding officer. The commanding officer got to have his family inside the fort. The common legionary, he would have to come outside of the fort to see his family in the settlement that formed just outside the walls. 1900 years ago, I'm sure there would have been some legionaries walking down this road on their way to some shore leave to spend some time with their families. Now, of course, Arnhem Fort has now completely gone, as has the settlement which used to surround it. And actually, we will be, later on in the series, visiting some settlements, which, there's lots there. There's grindstones and houses and all sorts, so looking forward to showing you those. But if you're wondering where all the stone went that was once here, We're actually heading to a place now that's being built pretty much completely by stone robbed from Onham Fort. We're back where we started our walk today, in the little hamlet of Halton. Yeah, this place first appeared about 200 years after the Romans left. In fact, it's highly likely that things were going on here before that. But initially, the first stone buildings that were put in was like a manor hall that used to then govern the whole of the land around this area. Slowly but surely, properties and houses built up around to support that manor hall. And obviously a church was needed. So this one was built around 700 AD using stone from that fort that we'd just left. And it is, of course, named after Oswald, King of Northumbria, who we found out about earlier on today's walk. My goodness, it's certainly a humble little place. There's no stained glass windows. The floors are wooden, they're normally stone in churches. But you can just tell, you can feel that this was such a happy place. And you can see, I'm sure it still is a happy place because you can still get married here, which is marvellous, isn't it? There's still services here too. And you can see all around you stones cut specifically in the Roman way, so you know that these came from the fort. I think it's just amazing that 2,000 years later, the stones cut by those legionaries are still being used in wonderful buildings that we all can still enjoy. There's one last little treat in store for us before we finish today's walk, because I'm told that somewhere in this churchyard is a Roman altar. Now, Roman altars were traditionally placed outside of settlements, normally on the main road leading into that settlement, and that's exactly where we are now. If I can find this altar, I think there's a fair chance that it's probably not moved very far in the last 2,000 years. And I've never actually seen a Roman altar in the wild before, only in museums. Let's see if we can find it. My goodness, what a wonderful way to end our first walking the wall. Looking at a Roman altar carved by a human being probably 2,000 years ago. My goodness, what a walk this has been. The person who carved that altar would have known the landscape that we've walked through today intimately, because this was their home, this was their world, and my goodness, it's been such a privilege, hasn't it, walking in their footsteps today. Folks, our adventure is truly underway now, and I can't wait to see you next time when we'll once again be walking the wall.
What an adventure!
What did you think?
It's just begun. We've only just begun to live.
Yeah, all right.
There's nowhere
Wasn't that church lovely?
I feel more at home than Hadrian's Wall country.
Yeah.
It's the business. And, I mean, yes, the church was amazing, but to say I was excited to find a Roman altar...
I know.
Now,
I was expecting it to be like an altar in a church. I'm so silly.
Oh, sorry.
I was expecting this great big grand
Sorry.
thing, and it was just like this pedestal.
That's right.
But that's my lack of knowledge.
Well, I'm telling you that altar's not moved far. And the reason I'm saying that is Roman shrines were always put on the road on the outskirts. Anyone who's been to Rome will know this because they're still there.
Yeah.
On the road into Rome, either side of the road, you'll find lots of shrines and also lots of burials. And that was done because people who were arriving or leaving could go in and they could make a little sacrifice to the gods on top of the altar, and they could also pay their respects to the dead of that community.
Sacrifice?
Yes, not a physical...
That sounds a bit...
That's what they called it.
Oh, right,
they called it a sacrifice, but...
Not a literally...
No.
Right, okay.
The sacrifice might be some wine.
Not like a cute little animal or
No.
something. Okay.
No, the sacrifice might be some wine. It might be...
Acceptable.
Anything like that. Anyone who has watched any archaeological programmes will know that people tended to sacrifice bits of jewellery.
Oh, yeah.
The funny thing is, they always used to sacrifice old and broken bits of jewellery, not the beautiful new stuff that they just got. So it's sort of quite cool in a way. It's sort of taking an item of something that you've cherished, and I suppose it's good because you're saying, I'm going to give that to this god now as a sacrifice to them. So the sacrifice would take place on the top of the altar in the focus. But the reason why I brought up the altar thing was I've never found one just out in the wilds before. Like I say, I'm convinced it was close because we were on the road coming out of the Onham Fort, but also as well I couldn't get to it because it was part of the land which is private, but they found a Roman cemetery literally within 50 yards of where I was stood.
Gosh.
So I've got a feeling that that altar probably hasn't moved more than 100 yards maximum.
Yeah.
Now, something I had no idea about was, you probably know the expression, the die is cast. Now,
part of it was called a die.
Yeah,
is that where it comes from?
I thought the die is cast referred to you have cast the dice.
Oh no, I didn't think it meant that.
That's what I thought. I always thought you've cast the dice and however they fall is what's going to happen.
Oh no, I always thought a die was like a template of something and you cast it.
Right. Interesting.
Is that completely wrong as well?
The actual meaning is, on the die is the central section of the altar, and on there an inscription goes.
Oh, right.
And once that inscription is inscribed, you can't change it.
The die is cast.
That's where that expression comes from. That expression is Roman. It was uttered first on the 10th of January. I mean, how great is this? The 10th of January, 49 BC,
Wow.
Suetonius said that to Julius Caesar.
And we're still saying it now.
This is another reason why I love the Romans.
That's amazing, isn't it?
I love the Romans that you could say I know the exact date when this was said and the exact year and who said it to who.
Is that where the word focus comes from as well?
Well,
Because that's the focus. That's
probably.
what you're looking at.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
Isn't it insane? So, to me, it was the perfect way to finish what was just a great start to our adventure. And there's so much to come. Because, like I said, as we get further into Northumberland, we're going to start to see the wall appear from the ground. It is like a good book, slowly revealing itself to us. Really looking forward to this series. But next time, something else new.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. I said at the start of the show.
Did we tell everybody about that?
Yes.
I'm a bit overwhelmed with all the newness.
Start of a new year. Promise you a big year. Next time, it's time for the very first episode of Kays Cosy Kitchen.
Kays Cosy Kitchen.
Yes.
How cute is that? I should be on the BBC, shouldn't I?
In the last couple of years, we've changed our diet dramatically. And Kay's going to be showing you all the little secrets that's still enabling us to eat cake, have gorgeous bread, have some lovely main meals.
Yeah.
There's going to be some really tremendous, cool things in this series, but all with your twist on it.
Yeah, the main meals are kind of a bit like retro.
But that's fine.
A
This
bit
is about...
a bit, let's say, no, I don't want to say old-fashioned.
This is about how we eat today.
Yeah.
How we eat healthily, happily.
Yeah, and, you know, that
Whilst
just
having
means
the treats.
that sometimes I'm harking back to things that, you know, I made 30 years ago.
So that's coming next time. It's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits.
Oh my goodness. Now, the Great British Coastal Challenge is now well underway.
Oh, it is.
The walking and running activity is open to everyone as we race around the UK's coastal path. And it is never too late to join. In our activities that we've done every year for the last few years, people join all the way through the year. So please, don't send me a message saying, is it too late to join? It isn't. You can come and join whenever you want to come and join. You'll get put into a team. It's all logged on Runkeeper. You can set up a free account on Runkeeper. I've had a few people sending me a message saying, oh, you've got to pay for Runkeeper. You don't.
No.
You set up a free account on Runkeeper and then it's all collected and logged and I can then plot you going around. It's England, Scotland and Wales. We're not swimming across to Ireland.
We're not. No, we're not getting in the water.
So... if you have... Now, I have now processed all of the invites that I have received. Now, that doesn't mean that an email hasn't got lost in the ether because there's been a lot of emails flying around. So if you have not either been invited into a team on Runkeeper or received an email from me telling you what you need to do so I can invite you into a team, email me again. So just to be clear, I've processed everything that I've received so far. If you've not heard from me, then drop me another email and I'll get on it for you as quick as I can.
Cool.
The knitting and the crafting, though, is just for our patrons.
That's right. The knitters and crocheters. We are crafting our way around the coast. So what I'm doing this year, which is different to previous years, is I am actually monitoring this every week. I'm adding up our totals every week and I'm posting in our Patron Facebook group, the private Facebook group, every Friday, letting everybody know what we've done that week, how many miles we've achieved, how many kilometres, I think I'm doing it in kilometres, and where we are, because I can track it because I've got all the mileage all the way around. So as of last Friday, so I've done it twice now, and the last one, we were just under the Scottish border. We were in Berwick upon Tweed.
Right.
So what I've been doing is I've been doing a little research on whatever area we're in. I post a lovely photo of something from that area and give a bit of sort of background information, a bit of history, and just say, right, you know, this is where we are and this is what we've done this week. And I'm really enjoying doing that, actually. And I like having that closely monitoring it. I think it's fun. So we're definitely heading into Scotland this week we're in now.
And this is, of course, the knitting and crafting is for our Bakery Bed patrons. It's our year-long knit-along for our Bakery Bed patrons.
Yeah.
Running and walking, open to everybody. But whilst we're talking to patrons, we've had a lot of patrons getting sort of excited about what's coming up this year and asking, is this coming, is that coming, is this coming? Look, let me promise you, there's lots of amazing things coming your way.
There
but
is.
we're not dropping it on you. Look, so much is going on at the moment because we had the start of Kay's new My Favourite Colourways.
Yeah.
We had Walk in the Wall. We've got the Cosy Kitchen coming.
Yeah.
So it's a drip by drip process of introducing these new great things. If we just drop everything on you in one, you're not going to know where you stand.
No fun in that.
There's no fun in that. But Kay is cooking up some absolutely amazing, wonderful tutorial series for you in 2022. She's hard at work right now on a series unlike anything we've ever done before.
No, and this is something that I think we're going to run in the summer.
Yes. So that should answer a lot of people's questions who've been asking us about what's been going on in the summer.
What's going on in the summer? This, I'm certain I'll be doing this in the summer, and it literally is completely different to anything that I've ever done before, which has meant that I'm doing a lot of research, I'm doing a lot of preparation work, I'm doing a lot of sort of creative work. Just, I don't want to say what it is.
No.
But it's like I say, it's something completely different, and I'm really enjoying doing something completely different, and I think you will too. I really hope you will. So lots going on.
So Baker Bear patrons, do not fear. There are lots of great things, lots of exclusive great things coming up this year. But in saying that, you've already shared the secrets of choosing perfect contrast yarns in tutorials already that we've done this series. And you've also started a series on identifying potentially pooly and flashy yarn.
Yeah, which is what I've just been talking about.
And you've just recorded a second part of that series that'll be coming out sometime in February, I think.
Yeah.
So there's lots already going on. But yes, there's lots coming your way too. So be excited. But be excited for new stuff, not old stuff. It's time to start new chapters.
Yeah, we like keeping things
fresh
and new.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You've got some things.
Yeah, I've got a couple of purchases. And the first thing, actually, it's not purchases, actually. This one was a gift. The first thing is something I got for Christmas, and I asked for this. And this is something that's been around for a year or two, I think. So you might have seen this already. But my goodness, it's fantastic. And it's a book. Oh, I'm just loving it so much. And it's Nigel Slater. It's the Christmas Chronicles. So this, I might be talking to... What do they say about sucking eggs? Teaching your granny to suck eggs. I might be doing that at the moment because you all might have seen this and might have, looked at it. This man can write, let me tell you. Oh, my goodness, he can write. I love Nigel Slater. He's so I love watching him, and there hasn't really been anything to watch recently, series-wise. But this, although it's called the Christmas Chronicles, and there is a lot of sort of festive things in it, it runs really, it's more of a winter thing, I think, because it runs from sort of the beginning of November through to sort of February time. And it's like he's writing kind of diary entries and just reminiscing about things that happened in his childhood and things that he enjoyed doing, and, those kind of winter feelings. And I'm reading, you can see where I am with the bookmark, I'm reading a little bit of this every morning when I have my breakfast. And there are recipes in it, of course, absolutely there are recipes in it, but it's not about that for me. It's more about the writing, because there's a lot more writing than there is recipes, but the recipes then are associated with what he's kind of just written about. It's all linked. So I'm actually, even when I'm getting to the recipe, look, aubergine with lentils and basil, that sounds lovely, doesn't it? I'm even reading the recipe, because although it is a recipe and he's telling you what to do, even that's described beautifully. And it's the way he describes things and the words that he uses, it just puts this image into your head. It's just amazing. I can't really recommend this book anymore. And the photography is beautiful. When it gets into the more sort of Christmassy photography, it's just lovely. I mean, I'll just give you a quick flash. Obviously it's a paid for thing, but look, just gorgeous. Everything about it is beautiful. I love that it's a hardback, and I love that there's no dust jacket on it. It feels like a sort of really old-fashioned book. If you like reading cookbooks and you enjoy reading in general, I would really recommend that. And then the other thing I've got is my crunkled kit arrived. Look how adorable that is. Crunkled socks. How sweet is that little drawing that Susan's done. So this is from Susan B. Anderson, Barrett Wool Company, and my kit arrived. This came so quick. I could not believe it. I got the dispatch notice, and then it seemed like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days later I got it. It was so quick, and it's lovely. Now, I've never knit with Susan's wool before. Oh, and she sent me some little stitch markers. Lovely. And it's gorgeous. I got this colour, which is... It's Priscilla, and oh, there it is. The colour combination is Priscilla, which will be the pink, and then Field, which is this sort of greenish, olivey sort of colour. And there were loads of different colour combinations. So the yarn is her home fingering weight, so you get 370 yards for 100 grams, 100% wool, and it's gorgeously squishy. It's so squishy and soft. Oh, there's not an itch in it. And yes, I mean, I want to knit crunkled socks with it. Aren't those colours lovely together? But do you know what I really want to knit with it? I want to knit some mittens, and I think I might put the crunkled pattern within the mitten. So I might do that. I'm still thinking about what to do, because this yarn is so bouncy and so gorgeous. I kind of wanted it on my hands so that I can, squish it. But it's beautiful, and I can't wait to knit with it. But I'm in that pondering stage at the moment, which is what I like to do when I get new yarn. But it's gorgeous, and I know lots of people bought this kit, so I hope if you've got a kit that you enjoy knitting up your crunkled socks. Beautiful.
Cool. Folks, what a show. My goodness. What a great start to the year. Yes. And the year will be continuing in style when we see it in 2 weeks for another video show featuring Kays Cosy Kitchen.
Yes.
So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Sitting and knitting, it's Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern and get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in your oven, or maybe a shawl you'll want to wear. So sit yourself right down and watch Dan and Kay, the bakery